So hello everyone. I'm really glad to see you here in our last module. And today we will be discussing very interesting topic about how to actually create an effective lesson plan. And so let's start. Now I will turn on my demonstration. Yes. I hope that you see, if you can see this slide. So let's start. Now, as I said, we will be discussing about lesson planning. And again, one more time, I want to welcome you to our last module. And I hope that you are really excited to use all the knowledge in your teaching process, all the knowledge that you have gained till this stage, because already you have covered our 4 modules. And earlier modules was about identifying student needs, choosing appropriate tasks according to each language skill. It is listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Also, we have discussed about time management of the lesson. And lastly, our fourth module was about assessment of the students during the lesson. And today's module, fifth module, will be about, as I said before, about conducting a lesson. And it is like a wrap up of our course because we will go through all the steps again as a revision. And also we will discuss some strategies how to create a successful and productive lesson. So let's start. I have divided the lesson plan in 3 steps. It is before class, during the class, and then after the class. And all of the planning and all the stages mostly are in the first stage in before the class. And the very first one is about identifying learning objectives. As you remember, our first module was about identifying student needs, and then my team member Jean Saya talked to you and told you how you can identify and then meet these student needs. And of course, then we need to create some learning objectives, what you want to reach during the lesson. Basically, a learning objective describes what the learner will know or be able to do after the learning experience. And actually, learning objectives should be, as I stated here, there should be clearly stated tasks. Also, there should be important learning goals. Of course, objectives should be achievable, demonstrable, and measurable, as in the SMART method of achieving, making achievements plans. And also, objectives should be fair and equitable. And finally, all the learning objectives, goals, and aims should be surely linked to the course and program objectives. Otherwise, they will be not related, basically. And here I want to share with you with one web methods that you can use in order to create your ideal and suitable objectives. This is called Bloom's Cognitive Taxonomy Circle. As you can see here, you have 6 parts, and in each part there are some verbs and explanations, and how you can use it. For example, for each level of the language learner, you can choose the skill that they need to be acquired during your lesson. For example, synthesis, analysis, application, comprehension, knowledge, or evaluation. And then, according to each skill, broad skill, within each broad skill, you can find some verbs that you can use. For example, let's say I am going to create a lesson objective for pre-intermediate students for the course about past simple and past continuous. And I can take the application part and then choose the verb use, for example. And then after this, I can create the following learning objective. That after this course or after the course about past simple and past continuous, students will be able to use both tenses in right form and in the right situation. So as you can see, this Bloom's taxonomy circle easy make the planning the learning objectives step much more easier and achievable for us as the teachers. And now I want to ask you to create 3 or 4 learning objectives according to this circle. Of course, you can choose any level of the language learner as you want, but these learning objectives should have these qualities that I have stated here in this slide. Yes, and you can share your learning objectives with our team members and with the members of our community in our Telegram. Yes, I will look forward to your learning objectives. Now let's move to the second step. It is about planning the specific learning activities. This part we have discussed with Albina, and now I would like just to mention that we as a teachers should estimate how much time we will spend on each task, and also we should build in time for extended explanation or discussion because we can't be sure that students will understand everything from the first explanation, or maybe that students would like to discuss something in more deep analysis. Also, we should be prepared to move on quickly to different applications or problems. And finally, we have to identify strategies that check for understanding. Actually, this check for understanding is a really important step because sometimes students just don't understand what they should do in this or that task. So we teachers have to prepare some clarification or check for understanding methods in order to be sure that students know what they have to do. And here we have different activity types. For example, we have interaction with content where we can use such tasks as drill and practice, lecture, quiz, or student presentation. Also, we have in our today's class interaction with digital content. It can be through game or simulation. Also, we can interact with others, with classmates and teachers through debate, discussions, feedback, and guest speakers. With advanced students, we can use problem solving and critical thinking activities, and such tasks as case study, concept mapping, and real world projects will be very suitable and useful for your advanced or high school students. And for the every age, I guess you can use reflection and reflection journal will be very interesting and funny to fill in for both beginners and advanced. Our third step is about assessment. This part you have discussed with another member of our team, with Aina. She told you about the assessment and that there are actually 2 types, formal and informal. So I would like to mention here that assessment provide opportunities for students to demonstrate and practice the knowledge and skills articulated in the learning objectives. And for instructors, assessment is helpful because they offer targeted feedback that can guide our further learning and teaching process. So I hope that you will use all the strategies that we have discussed already in our course module. So yes, assessment is really useful and should be applied in your lessons. Our fourth step or strategy is planning to sequence the lesson in an engaging and meaningful manner. And this part you have discussed with Albina, our team member. and she told me about different language skills and different tasks according to each language skill. But we teachers have to be able to apply all four language skills in one lesson, and we can do it through an integrated approach to language learning. We can actually divide these four language skills in two groups. The first option is dividing by oral medium and written medium. Oral will be, of course, listening and speaking, while written includes reading and writing. But this is not the only option. The second option can be the division by receptive and productive skills. Receptive skills in this field will be respectively listening and reading, while speaking and writing are productive skills. So you can choose one of the both options and then use and apply different kind of tasks in order to integrate all four language skills and be able to develop all of those skills during one lesson and also to engage all students. Okay, that's in our fifth step is about creating a realistic timeline. And remember our third module, you have discussed with Janelle about how we can effectively manage our lesson in the time, from the time perspective. And here I also just want to refresh your minds and tell about some strategies for creating a realistic timeline. Actually, we have to estimate how much time each of the activity will take, and then, of course, you have to plan some extra time for each. And also, you have to create or have in mind some extra activities that you can apply if students will finish all the tasks earlier than you have expected. Also, when you prepare your lesson plan, you should indicate next to each activity how much time you expect it would take by students. And also you should have a plan and also plan a few minutes at the end of class to answer any remaining questions and to actually sum up key points from each task or from the lesson as a whole. Also, as I said before, you should have planned an extra activity or discussion questions. And finally, you should be flexible. You should be always ready to adjust or change your lesson plan to students' needs and focus on what seems to be more productive rather than to stick in one plan and not be flexible or changing. So you always should be ready and you should be very tolerant to any changes in your plan. And then finally, you should plan for a lesson closure because conclusion of the lesson is as important as the beginning of it. You can use closure to check for student understanding and inform subsequent instruction and thus adjust your teaching accordingly. Also, you can emphasize key information that you have discussed during the lesson. You can tie up loose ends, correct students' misunderstandings, and also preview upcoming future topics. It will be really useful, believe me. And your students will find your closure helpful for summarizing, reviewing, and demonstrating their understanding of major points. Also, they will consolidate and internalize key information of the lesson. They will be able to link the lesson ideas to a conceptual framework and previously learned knowledge. And lastly, they will transfer ideas to new situations or their situations that happen in their real life. So I highly recommend to plan the lesson closure in very detailed way. And actually, there are several ways in which you can put a closure to the lesson. You can state the main points yourself, such as today we have talked about present simple and present continuous. Also, you can ask a student to help you summarize them. It can be either orally or in a written form. Also, you can ask all students to write down on a piece of paper what they think were the main points of the lesson. And by the way, then after the lesson, you can use these papers and opinions in order to reflect on your lesson and then change it. But we will come back to it a bit later. And now we came to our second stage. It is we fortunately we have finished with the basic and the most time-consuming stage before the class, and now class begins. And during the class, you should present the lesson plan to students so that they will be aware and they will know what to expect from the lesson, what topics to expect, what kind of tasks to expect from the lesson, and thus they will be mentally ready to it, and consequently your lesson will be very effectively, productively, and efficient. And our last stage is after the class. As I mentioned before, you should reflect on your lesson plan, and you should analyze how you have conducted your lesson, what you could use, and whether you had enough time for each task, or if there wasn't enough time, then it means that you should improve or maybe revise your lesson plan in order to make it even more effective, even more efficient and better and with a high quality. So it is really important stage. Also, as I said before, if you asked your students to fill in some questionnaires or to write their opinions, then you can use those papers or answers in order to uh, again analyze your lesson and make some improvements. So I think that's all. I hope that you have enjoyed our course, our lesson, and our speakers. And if you have any questions, you can always reach us via Telegram or YouTube comments, and we will um, wait for your feedback. I hope that all this knowledge that you have gained from our course will be useful for you, and you will become, and I'm sure that you have already become, an effective lesson planner and methodologist. So thank you for the attention, and bye bye.